North Korean soldiers are in Russia. Welcome to the channel where I watch things so you don't have to. Here we're going to be showing you, right now we have a video of some North Korean soldiers preparing to die for Putin.
Footage of North Korean soldiers training in the Kursk region of Russia has been released. The North Korean military in the Kursk region are undergoing mine explosive training under the supervision of Russian instructors. It is reported that the exercises with the military of Kim Jong-un in the Kursk region were extended for 2 more days. They say that one of the DPRK soldiers has already died. He has been shot by DPRK soldiers at training. One Russian soldier claimed that the Koreans mistakenly shot the Russians. In his nightly address, President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine seemed to confirm that North Korean forces had entered the fight, and he called on Ukraine's allies to assist in confronting this new threat. The first battles with North Korean soldiers mark.
Interestingly enough, I actually heard that the North Korean soldiers, they were having a problem with the Pwanagwafway, and they got access to the internet, and they just started going hog wild on that. And so I heard that was a thing that was happening. Some of them were defecting. But here we got another video of a little update of the Russia-Ukraine war. Russia launched attacks on Ukraine forces in 149.
To another war front, Russian forces are reportedly gaining more ground as they continue their advance in Ukraine's eastern region. Moscow has claimed to have seized 2 more settlements in Donetsk and Kharkiv regions. The Russian Defense Ministry says that over the past day, its army launched attacks on the Ukrainian forces in 149 regions. Moscow claims that the Ukrainian armed forces have lost over 150 troops in the Kursk area in the past day. Ukraine's total losses since fighting began in the region have exceeded over 29,000 troops.
It looks like they're playing paintball, but I know it's not paintball. Paintball's fun though. I should play.
Now, Ukraine, on the other hand, claims to have repelled multiple Russian attacks. The General Staff of Ukrainian Armed Forces reported that its forces launched multiple attacks on Russian army, destroying equipment, including tanks, rocket launchers, and drones. The Ukrainian army is facing one of the strongest offensives from Russia since the crisis broke out, and the forces are in need of more material and equipment supports. Ukraine has claimed 5 injuries and damage to infrastructure in its Dnipropetrovsk region after Russian attacks on Saturday. Now, meanwhile, tankers from the Ukrainian ground forces are conducting training with a German-made Leopard.
Okay, so that's a little bit of what's happening there with the Russia-Ukraine. And apparently, here's a video that was just posted 12 hours ago that says U.S. deploys massive forces to Middle East. Iran attack imminent. This is from the Enforcer. And
good evening, folks.
I wanted to watch this with you guys firsthand. I haven't taken a look at anything else. You know, we just did a little teasers with those. This is the meat and potatoes of today's video. So
it's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to another Short War video. And today we have very big news coming out of Ukraine and also the Middle East. But by far our biggest story of the day is we're currently seeing large-scale U.S. military deployments in the Middle East in preparation for a large-scale Iranian attack on the state of Israel once again. And apparently it could go down at any moment because we're currently seeing intel indicating that Iran is in the final stages of preparation for this large-scale attack, which could be coming at any moment. So we're watching that very closely. And also we have news out of Ukraine that last night there was a major Russian drone attack on the city of Kyiv, but Ukrainian air defense was able to shoot down all the incoming drones in a very big success, and the damage was minimal. We're also getting to see Russia's 5th generation stealth fighter up close, and oh boy, the build quality on that thing is horrific. And we have the video and picture evidence to show you because it is currently flying around inside of China in preparation for an air show, and that is very bad. And also we're hearing that a Russian commander was taken out, and also also, North Korea just got done sending the new dog meat shipments to Russia to feed to the Russian soldiers. But with that, we're jumping into our first article of the day, which goes to Visegrad 24. And like I mentioned just a moment ago, there's currently a major operation taking place right now in the Middle East by the U.S. military to move military assets to northeastern Syria, and apparently at least 6 C-17 and C-130 military transport planes were full of soldiers and also air defense systems and other weapons, and they all landed in northeastern Syria at the 48-hour zone right here, which is apparently something that just happened a moment ago, and we have the video evidence coming out. So let's take a look. So as you can see right here, there are those cargo planes landing in northeastern Syria, which are allegedly full of military shipments, including soldiers as well, and those are being moved into the region to get ready to support Israel's defense if Iran launches that large-scale attack very shortly, which it looks very likely that might happen. And we're seeing here, once again, going down the road are large convoys of military equipment on the back of these semi-trucks, which are heading out right now, including fuel and other things as well, and they are moving out. So once again, more proof that deployments are happening in the Middle East right now by the U.S. military. But with that, we also have more evidence here in this post from Ocean Defender, because Israeli sources are now claiming that a squadron of F-15E multi-role strike fighters with the U.S. Air Force were hastily deployed from the UK to the Middle East this morning after preparations for a possible imminent attack against Israel were observed inside of Iran. And real quick, just to recap what's been going on with this, because in case you have not been keeping up with it, the Iranians have agreed to basically go ahead and start launching attacks on Israel, and also Israel said that they're going to start launching attacks on Iran as well for the attack on Netanyahu's house that happened just a few weeks back. So right now things are about to pop off in the Middle East yet again for the 5th or 6th time between Iran and Israel. So currently we're waiting for the first round of attacks from the Iranian government, and that apparently is coming very soon, according to these hastily deployed military fighter jets to the Middle East by the U.S. Air Force. So very interesting and disturbing to see, and we will be watching that closely. But moving into our next post here, this one goes to Apex News, and once again, like we said, the U.S. moved a squadron of those F-15Es to the Middle East, which was reported by Con News, and this was following last week's arrival of dozens of fighter jets, and also, most importantly, 6 B-52 strategic bombers. And we still don't know why those B-52s have been deployed to the Middle East, because of course, those are long-range strategic bombers, and typically, unless the U.S. was ready to go in and bomb Iran, maybe in a preemptive strike, then I'm really not sure why the B-52s are actually there, except for a show of force or a bluff by the United States to get Iran to back down. But nonetheless, they are there, and they were deployed last week, and now we're seeing even more taking off here from the UK, as you can see on the map, and heading all the way down to Israel to deliver more military equipment and also cargo as well. So very interesting to see. But moving on here to our next post, this one's going to go to Ocean Defender once again. And we're also seeing the hostilities continue to pop off between the proxy forces of Iran and also Israel, because this morning over 50 rockets were fired by the proxy force at the city of Haifa and other communities in northwestern Israel earlier today, with several being intercepted while others landed within the cities of Kiryat Motzen and also Kiryat Yam to the north of Haifa, causing a number of fires. So let's take a look at the video and see the extent of the damage. And right here you can hear the sirens in the background. There was one of those rockets from the proxy force hitting inside of Israel, and it looks like this is some type of living arrangements or quarters for the Israeli civilians. So once again, it's hitting a target which is not a military target, and this is why we're seeing Israel get ready for this upcoming attack, because once the proxies start attacking in small skirmishes like this, you usually see Iran follow up with something, and considering Iran is saying that they will attack very soon, this is probably a probing attempt or some type of attack like that to see how Israel is going to respond. But once again, apparently the Iron Dome did fail on this one instance right here, because a rocket did make it through and hit a target, which is not good to see, but that did occur according to the video evidence. And nonetheless, we are moving on to our next post here, and this one is actually going to go to Nexta, because that's all of our Israeli news at the moment. Of course, we'll keep a close eye on that situation between Iran and Israel, because it will pop off at any moment. But of course, moving on here to our Ukraine news from Nexta, we also heard that at night, Kyiv was attacked again by drones from the Russian side, and fires broke out in 5 districts of the city, and 2 people were injured. And while certainly this is not good news that Russia once again attacked civilian targets inside of Ukraine, the good news is that according to the military administration, the air alert in the city lasted only 8 hours, and more than 3 dozen UAVs were shot down in the airspace above Kyiv and on the outskirts of the city. So right now, according to preliminary reports, pretty much all the UAVs were shot down, and all the damage caused was actually from the drone debris, which fell from the sky once Ukraine was able to take them out. out. So we did see here in this one photo that there was a fire on top of a building, and luckily there were only 2 people injured in all of these fires around Kyiv, and the Ukrainian fire department was able to come in and put out these fires relatively quickly, and now it is no longer an issue. But once again, Russia did launch an attack last night, and in our next post here, which goes to Status 6 Military and Conflict News, we did see video evidence of the Ukrainian air defenses engaging Russian Shahed 136 and Geran 2 long-range attack drones over Kyiv. So let's take a look and see the interceptions. So of course this footage is very dim, but you can see out here in the distance there are explosions happening in the sky.
Oh, nice.
I dare you to let me build.
Ads. We don't do ads. We do not do ads here, but let's get back to these bombs.
And you can also hear in the background the explosions from those drones being taken out by Ukrainian air defense. So once again, one thing the Russians do not have is really good air defense at this point. Their air defense is really lacking in several different areas, and right now we're seeing that Ukrainian air defense is doing quite well because the West has stepped up and provided a ton of AD to Ukraine in the last couple of months, which is certainly a very good thing to see because we see it in action, saving lives right there. But moving on to our next post, we also have more footage of the Ukrainian air defense taking out Russian Shahed drones in the Sumy region, and let's take a look at the video. And right there you can see the drone coming in. And there it went. The whole thing got exploded. You could hear a hail of gunfire in the background from the Ukrainian side, and it smashed that drone as it was flying to its target, and it was not able to hit. So once again, there went another Russian drone unable to get to its target, and that is very good to see that once again the Ukrainian air defense is very, very strong. But with that, we're moving on to our next post, which goes to Military News Ukraine. And folks, this story is absolutely going to blow you away if you've not already seen this one right here. Apparently, Russia's 5th generation Su-57 fighter jet, which is their first attempt at a stealth fighter, is now conducting a rehearsal in China ahead of a demonstration at the Zhuhai Arms Exhibition inside of China. But the catch with this thing is, we'll watch this video here in just a moment of the thing practicing for the air show. This thing is so terribly put together that it's just a complete joke. And it's of course a stealth fighter, so being sleek and also well built is a crucial component. But let's take a look at the thing flying around, and then we'll show the aftermath of the build quality. So as you can see right there, there's the Su-57 flying around inside of China at this air show. And of course, it's pulling off the traditional fighter jet movements that pretty much every fighter jet can do out there. And also, I will say this, the size of that thing is actually quite deceiving. It looks a little bit small right here in the video, but it's actually quite a big plane, which was to my surprise. And it's going in loops, and it's going right over the airfield as well. It's pulling apparently an elevation maneuver here, and then it's going straight up in the sky, and it's apparently thinking this is showing off. And I guess for the Russians, I guess that is showing off. But nonetheless, we're going to move on here to show you the build quality of this thing, because that's where the real harbor comes into play. And moving on to our next post, which goes to Wars of the World, we can see the up-close videos of the Russian Su-57 on display this weekend at the air show, and it's that good old Russian engineering, lots and lots of screws, and some parts that don't even look stealth whatsoever. So we're about to take a look at the video walking around this aircraft right here, but first of all, let's look at this picture. This is crazy. It looks like the plane doesn't even have like the spackling or whatever's supposed to go in between the crevices here in the welds of the aircraft, and also those look like wood screws that have been screwed into the side. Quite bad all the way around. So moving on from that abomination of an aircraft, we're moving on to this next post here, which goes to War Translated, and we're hearing how long a Russian troop typically lasts on the front line in the current meat grinder situation, according to the Russian sources. And apparently the Russian blogger Kasharova on Russia's assault lines and units, less than 3 weeks passed between signing a contract and the death of the average Russian assault soldier, which is insane. Like only 3 weeks they last on the front line, and in an attempt to maintain the peace of these meat offensives, 18-year-old boys are recruited at a high cost and immediately sent into the bloodbath inside of Ukraine. And when I first heard this, I thought of the difference between Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine is very hesitant to even lower their conscription age to 18, even though they're experiencing a manpower problem, as Ukraine simply does not want to put their young men into situations like this. But on the contrary, Russia does not care one bit. They're sending the 18-year-olds, which are some of the youngest soldiers out there currently on the battlefield. They're they're sending them in to die within 3 weeks on the battlefield. Like, that is so cold and callous. They go in with no training and hardly any equipment at all on the battlefield, and they are being used as meat grinder soldiers right there on the front. And now the North Koreans are coming in to actually take their place as well. So Russia is just using this horrid meat grinder strategy once again and sending in their young men one by one after the other, to basically get stacked up, which is honestly, it's so horrific. But anyways, moving on to our next post here. This one goes to Max24, and we did get good news here about an elimination. Apparently, information has emerged that the AFU has eliminated the commander of the Russian 5th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade, which is Major General Klemenko. And this is a pretty big win for Ukraine. This Major General was taken out apparently in a targeted strike by the AFU the other day, and this was apparently confirmed by Russian sources that he was indeed eliminated and taken off the battlefield. So now the Russians will have to appoint a new head of the Russian 5th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade, which will be probably a hard thing to do because they're lacking commanders right now, and that is a loss they could really not afford, but they just took him out with a targeted strike, which is, of course, a big victory for Ukraine. And with that, we're moving into our next post here, which goes to War Translated. And this story right here might be even more shocking than the SU-57 build quality. We are currently hearing, and this is not a joke, we're hearing that Bild, which is a German newspaper, is reporting that dog meat is already being supplied to the Russian army from North Korea, and the cans are labeled in Korean as Nerigoni dog meat, and apparently that's a breed of dog, I'm told in this post right here, also known as the Korean Yellow Spitz, which is raised for consumption in North Korea. And I apologize right now that if this is very queasy to some people, because it is very horrific to hear this. Apparently they're sending canned dog meat over to the Russian soldiers to eat on the front lines, and that is Kim Jong-un's gift to Russia in exchange for their new cooperation is to send over dog meat, which is just really nasty and bad. And we allegedly have a picture of it right here. Here's a can that is allegedly the dog meat, and here is a dog meat sandwich. Absolutely nasty. And
all right, nope, I'm good. All right, that's it. They're eating dog meat now. They got dog meat in Russia. Make sure you subscribe, and if you want to watch the next video, it's coming up right now.